All right, so our goal today is to look at nature, which oftentimes refers to an organism's genes, and then nurture, which means how they're raised, their environment. Okay, so we're looking at the effect of environment and genes in terms of how they affect traits. I'm going to go ahead and read through this. Feel free to skip ahead if you don't want to listen to me read. So we've been spending a lot of time looking at the importance of your DNA. We have learned that DNA is the blueprint which tells cells how to make proteins, and that proteins do a variety of different jobs, ultimately leading to your traits. However, we also know that your environment plays a big role in your traits as well. We know that exposure to UV sunlight or chemicals in cigarette smoke can increase your risk for cancer. Additionally, we know that a person who eats a high-fat diet and does very little exercise is at a much higher risk for heart disease regardless of their genes. So which is more important? Is it genes or environment? Nature or nurture? So we have the definitions below here. We have nurture, refers to rearing, upbringing, training, education. Nature refers to the basic or inherent features of something. So which word refers to an organism's genes? That would be nature, okay? The inherent, meaning they're born with, features, right? They're born with their genes. Which word refers to the environment? That would be nurture, their upbringing, their training, their environment. All right, so let's go down to the second half here. Again, if you don't want to listen to me read, just skip ahead. We will study the effects of genetics and environment on a batch of corn seeds. The corn we will look at has two alleles, two different versions of the chlorophyll gene. Green is dominant, albino is recessive. Remember that the chlorophyll helps plants absorb sunlight energy so they can produce sugar during photosynthesis. The seeds to produce the corn you will look at had parent plants which were both heterozygous. So we're going to use a Punnett square down here to determine the expected genotypes produced by two plants that are big G, little g. So we're going to go ahead and fill this in. Both parents are big G, little g. Fill in our Punnett square. All right. So now we're going to fill in our table here. So it says our expected results out of 4 plants. So green, we're going to have 3. So we're going to go ahead and write 3. Albino, we've got 1. Now, in order to get our expected results out of 320, 4 times what equals 320? If we take off a 0 here, 4 times what is 32? 4 times 8 is 32. So we're going to have to multiply each one over here by 80 to get our answers. And you're going to record those in this chart right there. All right. So the teacher planted seeds which had been produced by 2 hybrid green plants, like those from the first page. They planted 320 seeds. So this is why up above we had to predict out of 320. This is how many seeds we planted. We let the seeds germinate and grow, and they were in full light, so out in the broad daylight. We planted another 320 seeds, and we put those in a cupboard, so they were in the dark. And so then we looked at the results and counted the number of green plants and albino plants. And here are our results. Okay, so in the light over here, 244 green, 76 albino. And in the dark, we have 0 green and 320 albino. So what you're going to do is you are going to answer these questions here. Okay, and then I'm going to give you a preview here on part 2. Okay, so in part 2, what we did is we took all the plants that were kept in the cupboard in the dark, right? So remember, this is in the beginning, this is what we saw, okay? 244 green, 76 albino, and these were in the light. And in the dark, they were all albino. So we took all these dark plants here and we put them in the light. Okay? And we're looking to see, do they change color? Does the environment have an impact on the genes? So after 24 hours, we count them and we end up seeing some of them turned green, right? So you're going to go ahead then and answer these questions. All right. If you have questions, just shoot me an email or write a comment on the lab.